Hi, I'm Melanie Conklin, the author of Counting Time, and more recently, Every Missing Piece. And in this video, I want to talk about how I use Post-it notes for writing. I always end up talking about Post-it notes during school visits because they are a very versatile tool. What's awesome about a Post-it note is that you can stick it and re-stick it in different places. So it's very useful because writing is about collecting a bunch of ideas and then organizing them into the order that you like in order to create a piece of writing. That's kind of hard to do. It's hard to keep up with all those different pieces. And sometimes it can be hard to rearrange them. Because you can move Post-it notes over and over again, I find them very useful for both writing and revision. I'm going to show you a few examples here so you can see what I mean. So this is a use that you probably would expect to see. Here is a manuscript page from a book I'm working on right now. And you can see that I have a Post-it note hanging off the bottom. I have a Post-it note stuck to the side. I have little tiny Post-it notes also poking out. So how I'm using these Post-it notes is down here, I'm keeping track of one part of the story. So I've color coded it. So I can see all those different little pieces of color coding in my notebook. Here's a notebook. It has a manuscript in it. And you can see all those Post-it notes sticking out the bottom. So if I'm tracking one particular element, I might color code that and use my Post-it note to keep track of where I'm seeing that element. That's also how I use these little guys right here. Then I can see by glancing at the edge of a manuscript if I have an even distribution of characters or locations or even thematic elements. Also, more simply, I'll just stick on a Post-it note when I have a bit of dialogue I want to change. Sometimes it stresses me out to actually write on the manuscript page, and so using a Post-it note that's kind of more temporary can make it easier to think of solutions and then to change it later if I change my mind. I can just peel this off and put a different Post-it note there. That is the beauty of the Post-it note. So that's one quick use on manuscript pages. I'll put solutions, dialogue bits, changes to scenes. The other thing I use Post-it notes for is to collect different parts of an idea and group them and organize them. So I'm going to show you this board that I have in my office. And this is a book that is outlined in scene cards. And you can see there are Post-it notes stuck all over them. So when I first start working on that idea, I collect the little cards and the Post-it notes, but I don't know what order to put them in, not at first, and usually that changes. That order will change multiple times during revision. So I'll use the Post-it notes to just write the ideas, and I'll just have them all laid out in front of me, and then I'll go, you know what, this I think goes first, and I think this one goes last, and this one should go in the middle, and then I end up with sort of an outline of a story. Some other Post-it notes that I don't know what to do with and aren't for scenes, I will then take a blank piece of paper and I'll say, this piece of paper is about my timeline in this story. And then I'll stick all the Post-it notes on it that are notes about the timeline. And then I can organize them and put them into order on here. I can write a line through them when I'm done with them. I can even take them, my favorite thing to do, when I'm done with a Post-it note, is to tear it in half. And then I take this Post-it note and I stick it on a pile. And when I'm working on a book, like I have been for the past couple months, I build a big pile of torn up Post-it notes, and it makes me feel great because it visually represents all of the work that I have done. And I like seeing that. So those are a few of the ways that I use Post-it notes. There are even more that you can come up with. But what I recommend is just trying maybe revising this way, trying maybe collecting story parts this way and using them to rearrange. There's something about being able to change that note and have it evolve the same way that your story evolves that is very comforting and also functional. I have found these different ways of using the Post-it notes have made a big difference in my process. I think when we're trying to make a decision too quickly, that's actually what's really hard. And you get that like bad feeling in your stomach because you're not ready to make that choice yet. Having something temporary like a Post-it note where you can put your first idea, but maybe expect to change it later, can kind of free up your mind to move forward through your process in a productive way. And so I recommend trying some Post-it notes if you haven't done it before. Thanks.